Hey guys. Sup? Yeah, it's the second here all day. It's the end of the second, so the end of the world hasn't arrived, so you're right for another day. What's happening? Probably not very much. All the usual suspects. John Pettit, g'day. I have a question to ask you. If I put about 3 inches of pipe on here, is that far enough away from the carburetor? So I've got a friend who requested to ask you this question, but we'll talk about it later. Uncle Bob's Bees, g'day. Richard Mayer, hello. Stephen Lang, hello. Dan Shed, g'day. Fridge. Mark Osborne, g'day. Russell Dold, hello. Greg Koenig, hello. Necklace Workshop, hi Paul. Peter Noddle, g'day. Matty, hello. Machine in Z, g'day Kevin. Hey Warren. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Good to see you anyway, Wazza. Hi Glenn, Man Cave Metals. David Ian Sykes, g'day. Paddy, I think I said Paddy, g'day. Ted Rosa. Craig's Workshop, hello. Blue Wrench in the house, we can start. I'm okay. I'm tired, actually, to be honest. It's been one of those days today at work. As my Wednesday's generally sorting out other people's problems because my first day back, and I guess that's what I'm kind of good at, and that's what I get employed to do. But today was one of those days, to be honest. Just problems that we didn't even know how really existed until I turned up. But anyway. First you got to find the problems. Anyway, got through it and got home. It's all good. Now, I got blisters on my hands. Look. Ow. Ow, 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 ow. Oh, you can hardly see that. But from cranking this rotten thing. However, I'm chasing compressions. What's happening? Thanks, Maddie. That's why I get paid the big bucks. That's exactly right. But anyway, I'm kind of glad that well, I can usually get on top of it by the end of Wednesday night, and we were well and truly on top of it. Now, this engine, been cranking it. In the end, in desperation, went and got a pressure gauge for checking compression. It doesn't run as fast as I would like, Warren. Some of it's disappeared completely, though, so we've got to find that. Don't discount the mail completely yet, Kevin and Glenn. Had a parcel come from two parcels, actually. One was posted on the 10th and arrived on the 27th, the 28th, something like that. No, the 1st. It was here yesterday. It arrived on the 1st. From Western Australia. And another one posted on the 8th, which arrived on the 1st as well from the UK. So things are a bit slow. Rustinox is right. G'day, Rustinox. I missed you. Mai from Cornwall. G'day. Not enough. I'm getting, as it's sitting there, and I did last night regrind the valves. Like grind the valves and lap them in a bit. I'm getting about 75 psi on this gauge, right? 75 pounds per square inch is about the maximum it'll pump to, which isn't really enough. And that's with the plug in the exhaust and the intake valve shut. So not really good enough. I would like twice that, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'd be very happy with 120. And to be honest, I'd probably be okay with 100. Good to hear you in good condition, Russ Knox. 5 thou off the head. It is too easy to turn over, right? At the moment, it's got valve leaks. Bit of oil around it, it gets a lot harder, but if we, I don't know if you can see that, give that a squirt with a bit of soapy water. A zoom function doesn't really work particularly well. It's blowing bubbles here. So we've got an exhaust valve leak, and we've got, I think, probably an intake valve leak. Hey, Dennis. I would think with this that 100's fairly realistic. I think we've still got 6 or 7 to 1 compression ratio. Just calculating it out, and I don't think I've missed anything. I think I've still got about that. Right, I put a new set of rings in this week because the old ones just aren't up to scratch, really. Well, they probably are, and I don't think these are much better. However, the old ones, I copied the book a bit. Right, this is them. And I slanted the angled the gaps like the book says, which is all right. But if you've got a bit of sideways play, maybe it comes a bit wider than it should. See, like that, with that bit of gap in there, if they stick, then you've got, or especially that way, you've got more gap than you should. So I've put straight ring grooves in them. They've got about 3 thou gap that way, and they've got about, you can't get a 2 thou ring feeler gauge down in beside the side of them, so there's no real sideways slap in them. So I think the rings are pretty good. What I'm not sure about with the rings is that they haven't got a whole lot of surface pressure, and I'm not sure whether that's a problem or not. But at this point, these rings are pretty good, and I may even try it with these back in again when I get some compression build up. So the trouble is with having a ring that's the same all the way across is that you're not getting the same pressure, or you're getting more pressure on this end than you are on the back, and therefore they're not going to touch all the way around unless you squeeze them up to the right temperature and then anneal them, or the other way around is if you anneal them and then squeeze them up and grind them round on the outside, you might get a better ring. But the reason they're done like this, and I don't think there's a problem with it, is that it could be an issue, but we'll get to that when we do, is that you've got equal pressure all the way around that way. And if you have a look, they've cleaned up nicely all the way around. So that's the reason they're done like that. Rings are opposite each other. Paddy, I've been messing around with petrol a bit, but it should run on propane gas, I hope. Many old textbooks have rings like this in them, and I've seen old stationary engines that I have worked on in the past that had rings like this. Before grinding and messing around, this was the economical way to make rings. I don't think that's particularly strange, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not sure whether there's enough wall tension there or not. But hey, JB, take care, Mike. So at this point, we're going to discount that there's anything wrong with the rings, right? Hey, Nigel, did your parcel turn up yet, Nigel? Did Maddie's parcel turn up yet? It's name and shame, people. And did I know that Tommy's parcel hasn't turned up yet? Well, that's awesome. So anyway, discarding that, we do have leaky valves, and I think the reason, to be honest, that I've got leaky valves is that I put seats. I cut valve seats on the chambers, and probably that was a mistake, to be honest. I think I should have left them square and had a sharp corner to lap in against. I think we might have gone on much better that way, but it's done now, so we're going to have to try and get these valves to seat on this head without too much trouble. So a vacuum test might be. Yeah. If we've got to make new rings, it's not a big deal. That's really not a hardship. But I think if we go too much thicker on the thick section, then they're going to have a section around them that doesn't actually touch the wall of the cylinder. So you've got to be a little bit cautious there. Anyway, we're working on compression. That's what we're doing there. That's where we're at with that. And this only picked this up sort of yesterday, so there's still time. I'm not convinced they will be fine, just lap to the ground seat, but we'll see how we go with it. I think these valves probably would have been much better. Miniature valves like that are fairly difficult to get the two seats to match, I think is the problem. We might have to make new valves yet, but we'll see how we go. I think they might just be starting to be a little bit small for the size of the seats. They're only really cleaning up right on the outside edge, so we can mess around with this forever. At this point, I'm not going to lose patience. Is there any oil in the cylinder? Yeah, not at the moment. Night, Greg. Probably not, as everything's drained out overnight. It's the first time I've looked at it tonight. If we put a bit of oil in the oiler anyway, and a bit around there, which may or may not do anything, and I know the head gasket's not leaking. I know the valves are leaking, and I'm going to try that, get on top of that first. And then we'll see how much better it gets. It might get a whole lot better, to be honest. And then this really isn't the answer. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can. We're up about 50 there. So I think I'll sort this out first, and then when that's done, we'll start looking at rings. They might be a bit thin on one side, but I don't think they want to be too much thinner. Marble Miracle Oil. Okay, Paddy, I'll check that out. That's not a bad idea, Warren. We might do that next time I take that off. Malcolm, g'day. There's a water jacket, absolutely. It's not leaking in there. There's no holes that I can see. There's no oil coming through in the water jacket because I can see that. It's not bad. I have ground the valves on the D-bit grinder and got them pretty nice. I think they're a bit small on the heads, and I would like to see another set in it if I can't fix that this weekend. And probably I will make another set of valves with bigger heads. I think that won't hurt. And then lap them and see what we get there. So that might be the answer. It's just a matter of eliminating things until we get pretty reasonable sort of compression. Yes, it's awkward to turn over, I guess, more than anything. And you can't really build it up to a battery drill or electric motor, because if you have a look, even with that much compression, it's not real stable. Anyway, how thick is the head gasket? It's about 0.6 of a millimetre, something like that. I have blued the valves and valve seats. It's very difficult to tell exactly what's happening there. It probably needs a crank handle, which means broken fingers and things. I don't think 50 psi is shabby, Malcolm, but I think it could be a whole lot better. I think if it was double that, it would be a much easier engine to start, is where I'm at. Hey, Tom. Thanks for that, Willem. Sort of fairly difficult to crank the thing fast is the problem. I've been messing around with it. Look, to be honest, I only got a package with the gas mixture valve in it yesterday. So I haven't really attempted to start it since then. And that should make a huge difference to the mixture on it. Like probably nearly enough to get it running. Probably it needs a rubber wheel starter because the reality is there's nowhere to put a drill on here. It's not going to stuff everything up. So you can't really do that. A rubber wheel, like a pneumatic rubber wheel on a drill might make a difference. But the thing's pretty hard to crank over with a drill. Willem's got all the good ideas tonight. 5 pin ends on a shaft. Yeah, maybe. I'm not really feeling the love there either, but we'll see. There's 1,000 things we can do. And I'm not really lost for ideas yet. Now, I've got certainly pretty good direction on where to head for this. Last night I had 75 psi before I went to bed, and to be honest, cranking it a bit faster certainly helps. You can get 75 out of it. But I'd like a bit more, and I know for a fact that these valves are leaking, so that's the first thing to look at. Hey, Aaron. Anyway, these valves arrived. There's this one, which is your gas mixture, which we'll see. If we've got to put a needle valve on it, we will, but these are pretty fine adjustment usually. And it doesn't need much gas. So we'll see how we get on with that. That one's a bit loose, to be honest. And this one under here, which is your radiator drain, that one come too. So we've put a hole in here. If we have a look, we put a hole in here for the radiator drain. So I think it'll go. I think I need to fix the valves and have another go at it, basically. Picked up this piece of stainless steel from a friend who didn't really owe me a favour. I now owe him 2 favours. I think that's how it works. It's 3mm stainless, which is way too heavy for a base plate. Gosh, there's oil everywhere. Always is with this thing. That's why I wanted to put stainless down. We're going to bolt that on there and make a wooden box for under it, probably with a handle at each end. I've done some artwork for a switch plate for the front for like etch plates. Air starter is what it needs, absolutely. Uncle Bob's Bees, I'm not sure what you mean about pinning the intake valve closed. It's open only on vacuum. I'm not sure what that means. Where's the air intake? Underneath here. It's got a ball on the seat here on this manifold. It's got a hole here for your air intake, and it's got a ball on the seat, which works as a on-demand valve, basically. So what happens is that while there's gas pressure in here, it doesn't leak out to the atmosphere. And when it needs to suck in, it lifts that valve and sucks air as well. So it doesn't need to be very much air coming through here. Richard's spot on, yeah. That's where we're at with that. So that's where we're at with that. This engine is basically complete as far as everything has been made once. We'll see how we go. I did get some stainless steel fittings, and I'm going to put a little muffler on here. JB organised with one of his friends. If you're looking for this, check it out. I know a few of you have got projects that could do with some vintage wire. I got spark plug wire, the brown one, which will be awesome, and some wire for switches and things that look really good on this. So got some braided wire. Very cool. I had the guy's card here. Oh gosh, I'm hopeless. Right, so just dropped my verniers. No idea where the card went. There it is. Got it. It's oily already. Bygone spares and spares and restorations in Western Australia. Sent some wire through. That's really awesome. Thanks JB for organising that. Pump's going to go here when I get this thing running. I'm not going to start the pump until then. Yeah. Steam engines are way easier. The other problem with this is that there's not a lot of clearance under this flywheel, and I'm a bit nervous about my fingers. So I'm probably going to make another block of wood the same shape as this base to prop this up another 1/2 inch. Won't hurt, I think. That's my thoughts there. No terminal for the spark plug, which is this shape. I'm probably going to make something, to be honest, that clips on there. It's a bit bizarre, but I think it's got, they should have a clip-on spring-loaded clip that clips over there with a round clip that fits in there to stop it rattling. But I'll make something nice out of brass and put a bit of heat shrink on it, and probably 3D print or such a flexible cover for it, because I really am sick of being bitten by this buzz coil, which has happened a couple of times, and it certainly sits you down. Pump will go here and run off this groove here on the flywheel. It's only fairly small. Man Cave Metal sent a piece of bronze, which probably come out of his scrap bin. Don't hit him up for actual supplies of this, because I don't know if he's got it. But it'll take a sliver for the actual housing, and then it's got that goes there somewhere like that. The little pump. And the radiator will sit here somewhere. So I'll probably make a casting very similar to this, only round, with a couple of bolt holes. Pipe through the centre of it, and off take here to the pump delivery, or to the pump suction underneath, and then delivery out the top and into this pipe somehow. Anyway, we'll work that out as we go. And then we're going to put a silkscreen or a wire mesh radiator here with a conical top with a radiator in it, and probably just some nice galvanized iron if I'm feeling like my sheet metal works up to scratch. Otherwise we'll paint it. I see this is quite a deep groove, Stephen, while we're here. I've never seen a proper, I have seen a proper terminal, but they're kind of big. Olsen and Rice used to have this plug, the little Olsen and Rice generators, and they had a big rubber terminal, but it sort of looks as big as the cylinder head on this. Anyway, it's probably be fairly easy just to make something that's going to work anyway. Hey, Stefan. Good to see you. It's been weeks. Hope you're okay. This self-driven man working from home is sort of, yeah, it's going to be the death of you. Anyway, that's where we're at with that. What else come for it? Something else I got. Nah. No idea. Nah, got no idea what else I got. Anyway. Oh, I got some pipe fittings too. Yeah. There we go. Thanks, JB. So these are a bit cute. Stainless steel quarter BSB pipe fittings, which is probably going to be a muffler. I'm probably just going to put this out here with a round muffler on here. There's room in here between here and the radiator. I don't want it too close, but it should fire out the side if I make it like a pipe pan muffler sort of I've got a couple of bits of aluminium about that diameter to make a muffler out of. That should be really nice on there, I think. But these things can all happen at some time. What angle are the valve seats? 45 degree. I did try lapping them with grinding paste. There are some issues. Where's my Sharpie? Here. You can probably see this. Let's have a look here. Valves. Valves are this shape, right? Now, valve seats are here like this at the moment, right? Now, I don't think this valve's big enough in the head now to actually do any good on this seat. It should be up here like this. Does that make any sense? I don't know if you can see that, it's a bit. So I think we need bigger diameter valves to work on these seats. I also believe that if we'd put seats like this on it and ground the valves on there, they would have been fine, and that would have been plenty good enough. And it would have been much easier to lap into position. But we cut them like that, and they're done now. So we probably need bigger diameter valves, I think, to sort themselves out on there. Valve angle's the same. Journeyman Randy, good day. Pretty much the same, Warren. You need about 1/3 of the seating. I understand that. And checked it with bearing blue. It seems to be all the way round, and I've got a grey line all the way round. But on the valve, the grey line, if we have a look at the valves like that, the grey line's right here on the corner. And I would like to see it back here about 1/3 where it wants to be. So bigger valves there. I'm nearly convinced that's probably what it needs. So that's where I'm at. Yep, and that Sharpie's on that bit of stainless steel for good. Anyway, 3-angle valve seats are awesome, yes, and that's really good, but this is tiny, tiny, tiny. You've got to remember that these valves are only like 11 millimeters diameter. I think Joe's right. Anyway, I'm going to fix this first this weekend, so don't expect. There's still a video to come out for Patreon on making valves up to where I am at this point. So there'll be another video for this, and then there's another. I've been filming some of this, messing around trying to get compression thing and stuff, but anyway. So in the instructions for this particular engine, there's absolutely nothing written about this. It basically is suck it and see. So on a lot of the forums, a lot of people recommend square seats. These seats are probably a little bit too wide for actual contact here, and a 3. If I had a seat cut of that diameter, we could put three places on this seat. We could do effectively the same thing, and have a much better result, I think. But I haven't got a seat cutter to fit this. And I'm not sure how to go about making one that's not going to chatter and carry on. So that's where I'm at. I think we need more grinder lessons. That's what we need. This what this whole thing's leading up to, is that there isn't enough YouTube grinder lessons on from German channels. That's where I'm at with this. So yeah, this really, in an ideal world, the seat should be 45, and then this one should be a bit less, and this one should be a bit less. But we're only talking something that's this diameter, sort of. So it's fairly difficult to get right. I'm thinking that if I'd ground or lap that in to match there on a sharp corner, that would have been plenty good enough. Anyway, we've got a seat, this actual seat. It's still less than a millimetre wide, it's 0.8 or something like that. So I'm still plenty of hope for it. No pressure there. Thanks, Willem. You're probably right, and that gives me a bit of hope. I think it'll run. I haven't really tried it with proper fuel mixture. I've had a few pops out of it, and that was with, to be honest, a pair of vice grips on a rubber hose to regulate fuel. And I think I'm going to fix the valves. Probably going to look at the rings again, and then we'll start messing around trying to get it to run. So I would like to see the bubbles disappear from the exhaust and from the intake. So I think the intake's actually pretty good. If we crank that against compression, we had that popping, well, yesterday we did. When you pop that exhaust intake valve, it went pop. And I thought that was pretty good. It's not doing it now. But it could easily be a sticky valve or something in a valve spring that's not working properly. There's 1,000 things it could be. I'm just assuming that it's seat problems, but it could easily be that it's not closing properly, or it's only closing properly sometimes. But yeah, it'll bed in, but I've got to get the thing started, and it's pretty hard work cranking it over. So probably what I should do is go ahead and make a decent base for it, so that it doesn't pick itself up. At least this piece of 3mm stainless, and even though it's heavy, will give it a bit of stability. We've got 2.7, something like that, PSI propane pressure out of the regulator. 2.7, 2.75 kPa, which is less than 3 PSI. So hopefully that's all right. It's just gas flow. I think the volume in the hose is also probably fairly important as well. A shorter hose is probably better than a longer hose. And we've now got mixture control, so probably we can do it. But there's no way my battery drill will crank this thing over. It just kicks the clutch out of my DeWalt. But it's not going to start now. I could mess around with this for 2 hours tonight and it won't running. So I would like to see some electrics, because another job that I'd really like to do is make a decent electric terminal for this switch, because at the moment it's only got a nut on there, and I put a little spade terminal on it and it's a bit crap. So probably what I'm going to do is make a brass terminal with a screw in the bottom or in the side and a hole in the bottom. And that way I can just do up the screw in the side to put the wire in, the soldered wire in. And I think that'd be a really good idea. Because all these things, when you're trying to crank it over and it's not bolted down, everything moves and the wires disconnect, things like that. Um, 10 to 15 gas in air. See, all you guys are pretty helpful. 10 to 15%. That's probably... Yeah, we're probably not far off that, I think. We were getting pops off gas, so we were getting smoke out of it off petrol. We would splash of petrol down the plug and turn it over, and we were getting smoke, but it wasn't really firing. And that's what makes me think it's compression. 2.7 kPa. Hang on, what's the regulator say, will it? The regulator says 2.75 kPa. So that's our regulator, and we've got a mixture valve there as well. So increase the timing, Ted. What do you mean? I've checked the timing about 5 times. I think it's not far out. I don't know if it's perfect, but I think it's where it needs to be. Do you mean valve timing, or do you mean spark timing? What's the ignition timing on? Ignition timing's on this switch, on a cam here. So we've got a cam. When that kicks over, that touches this knife and shorts through there onto the knife and completes the circuit. There's a fair bit of dwell on it, but I think as its speed gets up, it's not going to be a huge deal. I think it's kicking in there. Let's have a look here. We'll turn it around and we'll unscrew this, and then you'll be able to see, because I can't really turn it over. There we go. Right. That spark about there, which is probably 5 degrees before. David's running. Need to run on town gas. Yeah, probably. So that's there. Right. About that point, we're starting to open the exhaust valve, which is probably 5 after bottom dead center, which is probably a bit late, right? And then it's closing about there, right? And from there it's sucking, and then we come back up on compression. We get spark again. Trouble is, there's no crank sticking out that I can actually attach something, so I'm probably going to have to make something with a couple of pegs for the drill, but I really don't very much like that at all. Should be just before bottom dead center, so yeah, it should be open there somewhere, and then it's closing there. Just double check that. See, that could probably go a little bit further back, a couple of degrees back. I haven't pinned any of this yet, so it's still quite adjustable. So that's probably could go back a bit, to be honest, so that it's the exhaust is opening as we come around here to top dead. Oh, as we come around here to bottom dead center, the exhaust is opening, and then it's closing about there. Whereas at the moment it's closing about there, and it's opening about there, which might be a fraction late. Yes, there's 2-to-1 gearing inside here. Bananas belong in diffs. Oh yeah, it looks excellent, but it'd be really nice if it ran. So that's where we're at. At this point, it really needs bolting down. It needs a bit of woodwork. It needs some valve work. It needs some decent electric connections, etc., etc., etc. That's where we're at. We've been 12 months now, so I don't know how much longer. Another month getting it running won't hurt. But this was always going to be a big thing. And yes, probably it needs a bigger cam or a wider cam. There was no real camshaft drawing. I've only guessed it. If we have a look at the book. This is the drawing for the cam that I have. There you go. Heaps of information. And I've we're limited by the height because it touches on the casting. And I kind of guessed the amount it was going to open, and I think I've got it somewhere near right, but I think it'll run. I'm fairly confident about my timing. There's been about 8 or 10 hours now of cranking the thing to the point that I've got a blister on one hand, and we're getting a few pops, but we've only just got the timing tap, so we haven't actually I had only just got the mixture tap, so haven't had actual like mixture control until now. And we've only just got a compression gauge, so we've got no idea what's happening inside here until now either. So I haven't actually attempted to start it since I've got a mixture valve, put it that way. I did get a few pops with a plastic hose with a pair of vice grips on them to limit the pressure a bit, but it's not really particularly good. So there we go. Don't despair yet, but I'm going to fix the valves. The popping will stop, that's right. About the bass. Oh, don't stress about the bass, Craig. No, don't. Was Craig stressing about the bass? It'll happen. Didn't get that. Sorry. I'm scrolling back through here. Sorry about that. Craig's got a new lathe. That's pretty exciting. That's pretty awesome, actually. He's also got an amazing new workbench, which I'm a bit more jealous, almost more jealous of than the lathe, or the space to put it anyway. You're right, Paddy. Coleman's probably the best, and I might try that. But this thing hasn't actually got an actual carby drawn up for it. None of these early designs do, and that was something I really look for when I was trying to pick a design to build. Why'd I build this crazy thing? Like, seriously, of all the amazing kits out there, why'd I build this? Because it was the lesser of the four. What was there, 4 or 5 that I looked at from Model Engineer about this time period, and this was probably the easiest looking one. None of them had instructions for making carburetors. There you go. A red poly wheel. Mark Foster, I'd love some more information on that. Is that like a blow up wheel? Or is it like a skateboard wheel, or is it a soft wheel? Probably doesn't need a very complicated carby. You're right. But I think it might. Take care, Kevin. Be good. We won't be long anyway. We've been an hour. A rollerblade wheel, maybe. I'll look into this, because that's really what it needs, I think, is a wheel and on a drill to start it. Take care, Stefan. Be good and stuff. You could put a Model Aero carby on it and all those sort of things, but realistic, it'd probably work with a Venturi and a needle valve. Anyway, that's where we're at with that. Getting sick of it? Yeah, a little bit. But I'll just patiently sit down and take it all apart again and put it back together a few times, and we'll see what happens. But I think it'll run as it is. I think Joe's probably right. I'm overthinking it. whoever said that. And I don't believe it'll be a particularly difficult thing to get running right. A bubble carburetor will work too, with just a glass jar with two pipes in it. That's plenty good enough for something like this, and that's probably more prototypical. Take care, Aaron. But there we go. There's 1,000 little jobs to do on it, but at this point, I'm going to get the valves right. That's where I'm at. Need to turn it faster to a start, probably. Need to build up compression so we don't have to, is probably more of a viable way of looking at it, to be honest. Take care, Russ. I don't know about good discussion, but I think I'm learning stuff. You can hold this by the spark plug end and put it in the lathe if you like and hold it against a rubber wheel, but at this point, I'm not going to do that. An electric motor and a belt might work too, but really, I'd like to see it so that you can start it by hand, and I think all it needs for that is good compression. Well, there's that too. I could sit it over here on the other bench and run the lathe belt on it, and that's probably not a stupid idea as it sounds, to be honest. I have a long belt on the bottom center of the lathe, and realistically, with a bit of base with some rubber stoppers on the bottom, it might be really good. But anyway, it needs to be bolted down first, though. Sorry. Anyway, that's it'll either wear itself in or it'll wear itself out. It may have already worn itself out. But everything's starting to run. No smooth, no tight spots, nothing like that. So I think that it'll probably work. It's just a matter of getting all the ducks in a line. Thanks, Willem. I hope so. It's a nice looking motor, but don't know how easy they were to start right from the start, because I've never really even seen very many full size ones, maybe less than a dozen that I've ever seen pictures of. And I see ads. There was an ad on Facebook Marketplace with one in England recently for a crazy amount of money, and it said never been run, and there might be good reason for that. Malcolm, you're right. If the pump has a small pulley, will it be like a fire hose? It's not a huge big pump, right? That's a very valid point, actually. It's not a big pump. It's honestly, it's about that diameter, something like that. And it's got a 3-vein impeller. It's not particularly efficient design. It's just got straight veins. If this does 300 RPM, which is about where I'd like it to be, and we have a 2-inch or inch and a half pulley on here, that'll give us 4-to-1, and it'll give us about 1,000 RPM. Yeah, I don't know how much water it's going to pump around, but we can drill a hole in it or put a tap on it or something if there's a problem. This is not going to be as smooth as a V8, was it? Just so you know, I've got a feeling that at 1,000 RPM, this is going to jump around. just email me. If you want to send some pictures, email is the best. Where's my email piece of tin? Got no idea. It was just here. There it is. I've got my email bit of tin. We've saved the day. I'd love to hear email from anyone who's got pictures, etc., etc., etc. That's it. That's my email piece of tin. Yeah, Shop Dog Sam's good. He's kind of a bit... He's less direct in his video delivery than he used to be. Put it that way. If we're going to be like that. I could probably put more effort into this sign. You're right. Love Shop Dog Sam dearly and love his cooking show. He does some awesome stuff. But he's a lot harder to follow than he used to be. But that's what they had, was a little gas mixer on here with a venturi and a choke. And to be honest, that's probably all it needs. And that's definitely doable. And I have seen one of these with a manifold with a port out this side too for a carburetor. But it's... we'll see. That's the worst case scenario, is to run it on gas, but it feels like cheating a bit and feels like giving up. So we'll see, to run it on petrol, but it feels like cheating a bit to run it on petrol. So I'd like to see it running on gas, which is much cleaner and less stinky. Anyway, we've been over an hour. There's more mail. Hang on. This come yesterday. So Summer Bash, weirdly prophetic slogan. Pretty exciting. Bash was this weekend, Paddy. Last weekend gone, live stream. So there wasn't a big crowd there. I did win something in the raffle, which is really awesome. I've donated it on to someone who I think I owe a favour to and who could use it. So more about that. Look, seriously, all those guys that are there, they're all old, and I mean, the COVID isn't going to kill them. It'll be something else. That's mean, isn't it? But yeah, I wonder at the seriousness of it all. But anyway, I bought a t-shirt. I won something in the raffle. It's not coming to Australia because it's pretty heavy. And I've got a friend who I think is probably pretty deserving. And I'll make sure that he gets them. It's... the political drivel that I'm seeing coming through now is terrible, really. It's getting worse, and it's going to get worse through to November. In fact, I'm kind of... don't get upset if I'm no longer following you, or I miss a important workshop update on your Facebook, because it probably means that you don't post important workshop updates. No, it wasn't a square. It was a set of R8 collets, which is nice, but no one in Australia really has R8 collet machines. So, and they would cost more to get here than it would to actually buy them new. So it's nice to have them and to think that I won, but there is someone who has done a lot for me and done a lot for the community and kind of flies under the radar and no one ever sees him or knows who he is. You probably all follow his Instagram and you probably see the occasional post where he's tagged in, but as such, you really don't even know his name. But anyway. Anyway, no, not RR. T. His name starts with T. Anyway. I'm going to sign off here because we've been pretty long enough and it's been a big day and I could do with some bed. Thanks heaps for keeping me company for an hour. I really appreciate that. Thanks for all your feedback on this. I've picked up a lot of good ideas and sort of strengthened some of my convictions and a little bit of encouragement, and we'll see how it goes. At least we don't have a national election going on. Even if we did, our national elections are nowhere near as crazy as some people. So there you go. Thanks, everyone. Take care, Dennis. Take care, everyone else. Yeah. Anyway, take care, Russ and Knox. You keep well, and awesome couple of videos we've seen lately. I really enjoyed them. And we'll see ya. I'm out. Be kind to each other.